Calling all aspiring tradespeople. Ready to master a new skill to boost your career? Introducing the Blue Collar Virtual Trade School. Learn from industry experts from the comfort of your own home. Whether it's HVAC, plumbing, or electrical work, we've got you covered. Gain hands-on expertise through immersive virtual simulations and connect with instructors who have been in the field. Elevate your career potential. The Blue Collar Virtual Trade School, where future begins with a click. Visit thebluecollarvirtualtradeschool.com or call 678-916-6145.
Extra 106.3 and a Second Chance Bail Bonds are here to back your blue. Back Your Blue highlights special initiatives, criminal justice programs, and community events aimed at keeping our communities safer. Join a Second Chance Bail Bond CEO Daniel Matalon and host Tug Coward to learn some good news about and from the law enforcement and justice communities. Now it's time to back your blue on Extra 106.3 FM and the Extra 106.3 app.
Welcome to another episode of Back Your Blue. We are hanging out with Daniel Matalon of A Second Chance Bail Bonds and our guest today, Lawrence Zimmerman. He is a defense attorney, an Atlanta criminal defense attorney in Marietta. And your website is atlantanotguilty.com. Am I right about that?
Yep, it is.
There you go. Well, welcome in, man. Thanks for coming.
Well, thank you for allowing me. And the Georgia hat's making me a little nervous, but I'll live.
That's right. Yeah, I was wondering, Daniel, why he came in, and he just kind of gave me this cross look, and I was like, wait, I've never met this guy. I wonder what's up. He's a Florida fan.
Florida Gators.
Now, yeah. But the jacket is like, that is like classic Florida style, looking sharp. You know, with the orange.
I didn't buy it because it was a Gators colors, but I was attracted to it, so maybe subconsciously.
Yeah. You can't help it. No, right. I love it. So, Daniel, how do you and Lawrence know each other?
So, Lawrence and I go back, I guess, to the beginning of when Second Chance started. He was one of the first attorneys that I met in Atlanta and was told to speak with him because he had a lot of knowledge in the bail code sections. In Georgia, and so in the early days he was helping us with all of our cases and things that we needed help from lawyers on in the courts.
Yeah, so you say bail code. I mean, that's like it's like talking Greek to me and most everybody else. Like, explain that. What does that mean?
So it's the code section. So there's certain on some of these cases there's laws that exist as far as timelines, as far as us coming off of the bonds, being responsible for the bond, depending on. You know, you have an action that takes place, and then so Lawrence was helping us navigate all of these different code sections for bail bonds that applied to our business.
So someone skips court, for example.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Okay, and then what? So break that down for me, because I don't think people know this. I mean, you hear it, and you kind of know what bail bonding is, but I don't think people have a good understanding.
If you miss court, let's just say you miss your court date, and then there's a bench warrant issued for your arrest. Then there's a clock that starts ticking timeline-wise. So we have X amount of days to either get the case back into good standing or bring the person into custody. So those are your options. And then sometimes we have to file motions in the courts, which then at that point we need representation, which is where the defense or where the lawyer comes into play to relieve us liable, the bond, or to get an extension on a case until we can actually find that person. Sometimes we can't find the people, and they go missing. So things of that nature.
Like an insurance company. So if a bond's $100,000 and they, someone pays them $15,000 and the guy skips, they're out the $100,000. So of course they can go look for the person. So there's different, parts of the law that they may be able to escape and not have to pay if the state made some mistakes in executing the bond forfeiture.
Yeah, so
not to get too much out in the weeds.
No, but I think that's good stuff, because really I think people have no clue unless you've been in a lot of trouble or have had experience with it. I don't know. I've had zero experience with defense attorneys or zero experience with bail bonding. So
that's good.
Yeah, it's a good thing to have, but it leaves you kind of clueless to some of the things that y'all do. I mean, you've been serving the community for 25 years in defense, so you know what to expect. Like if I ended up, I don't know, being accused of something that I'm like, I didn't do that. I didn't do that. It's not at all. Or I'm in an accident and I'm accused and I'm like, that's not at all how that all came down. That's where you come into play.
100%. I mean, obviously I'm used to it. People call me all the time. I always say, "How you doing?" Obviously, I know they're doing badly, but it's yeah, I'm used to it, and we see a lot of different things that a lot of people in the community don't see. And people are falsely accused of crimes all the time, and some people are rightfully accused as well. But we help everybody.
Yeah, it's so important. So got your undergrad at Florida.
Yep.
So you're a Gator, and then law school at Roger Williams University in Rhode Island. Now that's a bit of a different location. When you're going from Florida to Rhode Island, how did that work out?
I was born in Rhode Island and moved to Miami when I was 6 years old, and I just wanted to get out of Florida, and I loved New England and wanted to try it. So I tried it.
And you're back south.
Yeah, I didn't mind the cold weather, but it gets dark at 3:30 in November.
Yeah. Oh, no.
So
Crazy.
you're either going to hang yourself or drink to death.
Seriously, neither one of those sound like good alternatives.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so, and then moved to Atlanta, opened your own firm, and have been practicing ever since. So
Ever since.
25 years here in town.
Crazy, I know.
Yeah, so what keeps you busy other than defending people that need defense?
Well, I got a young family, so that definitely keeps me busy with the kids, 8 and 14. I got a wife. She keeps us busy too. And, do stuff, busy. Got Falcons games, go to concerts.
There you go.
Do a lot of, workout, whatever you got.
Yeah, play guitar
Play
too.
guitar. Yeah, everything.
Yeah, this guy's over here. We got a guitar wizard in here.
I don't know if I'm a wizard, but...
but I wish you would have brought the guitar with you, man. That would have been interesting to talk about. He said his favorite band is Rush. Big Rush. You said you saw him 35 times.
35 times.
And
I've seen a lot of concerts. I mean, I've probably been to 500 concerts in my life. I'm sure.
So a music guy.
Yeah.
So family, sports, music. I mean, that's pretty good. That's a well-rounded band.
In fact, we just took the kids in August. We saw Ed Sheeran at Mercedes-Benz in May. Took them to Nashville in August to see Ed Sheeran again. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Big Ed Sheeran fans, huh?
Yeah, I love Ed Sheeran. New album's out, Autumn Variations. Let's do it now.
Well, there you go.
On Spotify.
Yeah. Or Apple, or wherever you stream your music. Yeah. But I love it. I think that's important. Daniel, I don't think I've ever asked you, what do you like to do when you're not working?
I'm a big family guy. I've got a daughter who's 15, and my son's about to turn 13. And Lawrence and I have known each other for, I guess, almost 17 years probably.
And we have that Miami connection, too.
Miami connection, yeah. I'm also from South Florida, from Miami. So when we first met, it was a very easy, natural connection, and then we've been best friends ever since. And him being past president of GACTL, which is the Georgia Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers, has introduced me to a ton of relationships, and a lot of that success for A Second Chance has been because of Lawrence Zimmerman.
I'll take a cut of your profit, thanks.
Yeah, exactly. Where do you send the check?
Sorry, that's not allowed and it's unethical. It's just a joke.
It was a joke. Yeah, believe me. Don't worry, man. We don't get offended around here, man. We're easygoing, and no offense taken. But it is cool though that relationship has been so mutually beneficial. But on top of that, just having a good friend to hang out with. Is it you go to games together, you ball games together, concerts together?
He actually lives only 2 miles away. In fact, his wife was the one responsible for finding our house because she's a real estate agent. But
Nice.
I never see him. I pass by his house 10 times a day, but it's probably the first I've seen him in months.
Oh my goodness, I got to do better, man.
Well,
better.
life's busy.
It is for sure. So then, what keeps you busy then when you're at the office? I mean, what's the typical day look like?
Typical day. I mean, after this, I have a meeting. It's another lawyer's office in Buckhead working on a federal wire fraud case.
That sounds serious.
Got some hearings coming up this week on Thursday. I represent a law enforcement officer in Cobb County who got in a little bit of trouble. So I'm getting ready to fight the government on that. And, it's just got a trial coming up in a couple weeks. That keeps me busy. Just got to focus on working hard for your clients.
Yeah, no doubt. And what is it that you do that maybe other lawyers don't do? What sets you apart?
That's a tough question. I don't know what sets me apart. I mean, I don't know what other lawyers aren't doing. I feel like I work hard.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. Let me ask you that question. What sets them apart? What sets Lawrence apart from everybody else that you work with?
Well, look, I mean, I think who he is and what he's about has been a huge part of why I gravitated towards him early on, and we've gotten great results over the years, over the almost 17 years. So, I mean, I just think who he is as a person and kind of what he brings to the legal profession has been has been awesome to watch, and we've both developed our businesses over, you kind of watch the evolution of all that stuff happen, which has been awesome to see, and his success has been also great to see as well.
Yeah, man, you should blow it up for 25 years and work both federal and state. I mean, you talk about a federal case, man. That's I think this is just a world that most people don't, aside from what they see on TV. They're watching CSI or something. Aside from, you're really doing a federal case. I mean, that's something that's on, CNN at night or Fox News at night. That's not, that's not what most people really do on a daily basis. So I find it fascinating, and I think most people do.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. People want to rag on criminal defense lawyers, but every TV show and movie that people love and watch is about criminal defense lawyers. There's no show about some corporate lawyer drafting a contract that people are watching for an hour,
exactly
or a Netflix series about some guy doing contracts for 8 episodes in a row.
That's right.
And mergers and acquisitions.
Yeah, right, because it's boring as all
right,
get out.
Exactly.
Animated people, I bet the people you meet are relatively animated.
Yeah, it depends. Listen, I it's like anything. People ask me, you work on anything exciting? At this point, it's work, so I'm so used to it, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot of different interesting cases. People come to me the worst moments of their life. I hate to give this analogy, but I'm sort of like the funeral home. It's like, people come to me, it's terrible, it's tragic, and I have to help them through that period to try to be as kind and as gentle and just help them focus on the problem before them. Well, and hopefully they don't die. But but that sort of the same kind of customer service.
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, that's quite an analogy. But so spot on.
Well, I'll say this: I didn't realize that till 2 years ago. My dad passed away. I had to go to a funeral home for the first time, and then I realized it's sort of like my business a little bit. They're being very gentle, very kind.
Yeah,
they knew we were in a bad. This is what they do
in that position,
right?
Because they've seen it before. They've seen it all, and much like you.
Right.
Yeah, I could see that a little bit. This is Extra 106.3 and Back Your Blue with Daniel Milliton of a Second Chance Bail Bonds, and Lawrence Zimmerman too. AtlantaNotGuilty.com is his website. We'll come back because I want to talk to you about some of the cases you have. I would love for you to walk through some of the cases that you have worked through and been part of, because much like you were saying, man, we want to entertain folks. I think good cases are probably pretty entertaining. I bet you have some pretty good stories.
Yeah, let me think of a few.
All right, we'll talk about it next on Extra 106.3.
Finding your direction, a career path, can be difficult. There's so many choices. Check out Life University and explore your options at their Eagle Madness Preview Day on Saturday, March 2nd. It's your opportunity to spend the day learning about their unique undergraduate programs like culinary nutrition, biology, business administration, and more. Come discover exciting majors and talk to current students and faculty at our beautiful Marietta campus. We'd love to see you at our Eagle Madness Preview Day on March 2nd. For more details and to register, visit life.edu/join today.
A lifetime of hard work, children laughing in the kitchen, family photos on a restaurant wall, a legacy that lives on. It all comes from the power of a conversation, like the one Tommy Hall had with First Horizon Bank about taking over his father's Charleston-based restaurant business. Now the table is set for a whole new generation. First Horizon Bank. Let's find a way. Go to firsthorizon.com/Tommy. First Horizon Bank, member FDIC.
This is Back Your Blue, presented by A Second Chance Bail Bonds, live on Extra 106.3 FM and streaming for free anytime on the Extra 106.3 app.
Welcome back to Back Your Blue on Extra 106.3. My name is Doug Coward, along with Daniel from A Second Chance Bail Bonds and a great defense attorney here in town, Lawrence Zimmerman. You can find him at AtlantaNotGuilty.com. Been working for over 25 years here in the city of Atlanta, both on the state and federal courts. But you had an interesting story that you were telling us during the break where somebody tried to scam you. Like, of all the people that you can try to scam, a lawyer doesn't seem to be the easiest target, but they went after you nonetheless.
Well, scams are getting pretty complex these days. Sometimes it's hard to tell, especially if it's from a bank. But yesterday, I was sitting home watching the Dolphins lose to the Bills, but during the game, I got a phone call on my cell phone, and the guy said, "Mr. Zimmerman," I said, "Yes, this is Deputy so-and-so from Cobb County Sheriff's Department, and you missed court 2 months ago for jury duty, and Judge Kimberly A. Childs has issued an arrest warrant for you." I was like, wow. And I started playing him, right? I was like, He goes, it goes Class C citation. There's no such thing in Georgia as Class C citation. So, I mean, even though I already knew it was a scam, just that alone, right. So I started playing, like, oh my God, really? Are you kidding me? I missed court, missed jury duty. This is insane. Am I in trouble? And he's like, yes, but if you just bring a money down to the sheriff's department at 185 Roswell Street, we'll reimburse you. You'll be okay. Do you have a vehicle? I said, yeah. Actually, I called my daughter over, my 14-year-old. I told her to get out her video recorder so I could record the call. So anyway, he kept going on and on. I said, who's the sheriff of Cobb County, by the way? He kept, he's like, do you have the money? I go, who's the sheriff? He couldn't answer that question, right? So, well, can I pay you instead so I don't have to drive over to the sheriff's department? He's like, yes. How much do you want to pay? I said, how about $25? I'll Venmo you. He said, let me ask somebody. He comes back like 10 seconds later. He goes, how about $3,500? And now I know this is probably, a
relatively family friendly.
Yeah, we got the FCC, right? So I don't get worried, I don't want you to get fined. But I used a few curse words and told them, listen, I'm a lawyer. I know the judge pretty well. And, take a hike.
Take a hike, yeah. So how do you combat stuff like that? Are you able to track down phone calls, or is it going through 50 routers and there's no way to track it down?
Actually, interesting thing, because I actually called him back and he answered the phone again.
No way!
Yeah, so...
The idiot answers the phone after he just tried to scam you.
Yeah, I sent the number to the judge just so they had it, so they could alert the clerk's office.
Did it turn out to be just a regular cell phone, or was it a company that just,
Right, I think it's a regular cell phone. What I truly think is probably somebody somewhere in prison. I had a client last year who was doing scams with a cell phone from prison, and he got indicted by the feds.
I didn't know you could have a cell phone in prison.
Well, you can't.
Oh, okay.
But they do.
But they do. How do you get cell phones in prisons? Because I see that I see it on the news at night.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of news in Georgia, Department of Corrections. I'm not saying everybody's a bad apple, but a lot of the guards there's just an article in the AJC last week about this. A lot of the guards bring in phones in exchange for money, and inmates have phones, and it's a major security risk. I've seen people. I saw a old client of mine on Instagram doing Instagram from prison.
Wow.
Yeah, videotape.
How about that? I just can't wrap my head around this, Daniel. Some of this stuff just blows my hair back. Yeah. I really have a hard time, and I think most people do, because most people think, okay, everybody's honest, everybody's on the up and up, everybody's trying to do the right thing, and that just doesn't always seem to be the case.
No, yeah, I mean, the scams, we've been scammed multiple times.
How's that?
So basically what these people are doing is they're going on to the jail dockets and they see that someone's been arrested, they're in custody, and then they get the phone numbers, they are Googling the numbers, or however they're obtaining the numbers, I have no idea. But then they're reaching out to the families and they're saying, "Oh yeah, well, hi, I'm Daniel Madelon, a second chance bail bonds. Johnny's in
That's
jail."
my mom's friends. Yeah, my mom's friend that happened to.
Yeah, and so then what they're doing is they're getting these people to cash app them money, and it's all a complete scam, and they'll do it in the middle of the night, so people are disoriented, they don't know what's going on, and they freak out because it's their loved one who's in custody, and I mean it's a challenge that we've had probably over the last 5 to 7 years, and it's happened multiple times, and this has happened in multiple states as well, which we've then brought law enforcement into the equation. We've done reporting on it. Channel 2, WSB TV, Michael Seiden's done a special report on it, and other news stations as well, because it's a prevalent thing, and it's like, look, just one more thing for people to scam people on. It's just another.
It's never ending.
It never ends.
I have to walk my mama through it a little bit every now and then. Like she'll say, "Hey, there's a prince in Egypt that's going to send me $1 million. Did you?" I was like, "Mama, that's not real. Let's hold on." And I say that in jest. It's not as silly as that one, because that one's been around for 100 years, as long as social media's been around. But there are those that she'll get an email and it'll say, "Hey, your check bounced," and she doesn't bank with Bank of America, but she clicks the link anyway. And I'm like, no. And I try to, but that's the thing.
Well, the elderly are huge targets. I mean, I know in Cobb they do have an elderly abuse task force at the DA's office that and we work with them through the Neighborhood Safety Commission on helping get some of this awareness out in the community. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's wild, the stuff that they do to the elderly people. It's
I sort of fell for it a few months back. I had just done a press conference. I was helping all the businesses in the city of Roswell fight them shutting down Canton Street.
I recall that. I live in Alpharetta, right down the road.
So I did a whole thing with them, and afterwards I got an email for said CBS, and I clicked on it, and whatever I put in there, And then I forwarded it to my buddy, and then I realized, I go, this is a phishing
This
scam,
is
and I
not
immediately changed all my passwords on my Gmail.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
the first thing you need to do. And I think a lot of people are just like, oh, either they don't think about it, but that's something that you have to do. You have to protect yourself. And I know changing emails are such a pain in the butt because there's only one that anybody can remember, and it's usually your name and your birth date or something. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So that becomes a struggle. And but that is an absolute first step. And good job with the Roswell thing, man. Let's talk about how defense attorneys and law enforcement officers work together, especially in the realm of bail bonding and everything else for that matter. It always seems like that there would be a rub there, but it doesn't always mean there is.
No, so I mean, I'll say this. Criminal defense lawyers and the sheriff's department typically get along pretty well because the sheriffs are typically the jail, they see us, and they're in the courtroom. They're like Cobb County Sheriff's Department's not out there making arrests generally, right? Mm-hmm. Cherokee County Sheriff's Office is responsible for a lot of the investigations. So, like Cobb, mostly get along with everybody. Heck, I've tried cases in Cobb where I'm asking the deputies, what do you think of the witness, or they'll laugh at the police officer testifying. Yeah. But, I mean, obviously there's natural tension, but I'll say this. There's nothing worse than a young criminal defense lawyer and a young cop because they butt heads. As you get some experience, you get a little bit older, you figure out how to deal with them. Listen, my job is obviously to fight for my client. And if a cop is done something that I think is inappropriate or he's making a mistake and he has the wrong person, I'm going to point it out. He may not agree, but the jury may. So you got to do it respectfully. And it just depends on the situation. If you're a police officer being,
overzealous.
Yeah, or not very credible on the stand, then you could attack him. It just depends just depends on the situation.
Yeah.
But try to be respectful. It just depends on the police officer. I became friends with a detective in DeKalb County years ago because he watched me grill another cop in the hearing before him, and he came up to me afterwards and said, that's fantastic. And we became fast friends, and we talk to this day and go to dinner.
Okay. All right. And how do you see it, Daniel, from at least your point of view?
Well, I mean, in some scenarios, we're getting reached out to by the defense lawyer prior to, right? So they're negotiating a bond, let's just say, for their client. And then, but we're also talking with law enforcement because there's all the mechanics that go into the surrender, and we do a really great job of that. So we speed up the process for people most of the time. So I'm kind of working on both sides of it. I'm just wedged into the middle, I guess you could say. So, and yes, there can be tension points, with all this stuff. But what I've learned, I guess, over the years is working together has garnered better results for everybody, for the most part. But yeah, so we do touch all sides of it. It just depends on the case. Not all the time. Sometimes they're already in custody, and then the defense lawyer calls us. And they're like, my client needs to get out, and we get in contact with the family, at that point. But sometimes there's prearranged people that turn themselves into custody and things like that. So it just depends.
Yeah, I mean, like for example, people will hire me before they're arrested to try to avoid arrest. They'll call, saying the FBI or Cobb County Police or Fulton County Police have reached out to me for whatever reason. I need your help, and we'll try to convince the police officer. We'll investigate and see if we can present evidence that they didn't commit the crime. Anyway, but I always say to them, but if you want to charge him or her, just notify me and we'll surrender them. So my point here is we do work in that capacity. If you're a trustworthy criminal defense lawyer, they're going to take you at your word that your client's going to surrender themselves. If they don't trust you, they're going to say, they're going to just kick down the door and arrest them.
Exactly.
Right.
And then still call you.
And that's a benefit to the client because most clients don't want to their door be kicked in at 6 a.m., in front of their family, the neighborhood. They'd rather just be able to quietly go over to the jail. Yeah. And then I'll call a second chance, say, hey, I got a client going over to the jail, check on the bond, see if the bond has been set, and hopefully you guys can bond them out quickly.
What is it that everybody has to do to make it all work smoothly?
I mean, listen, for me, it's really nothing. I mean, I don't do anything. I obviously advise clients to surrender themselves, and there's been times if it's a client that's really needy or high profile, I'll go with them to surrender. But then, if they have a bond, the bonding company takes care of the rest of it along with the jail. But I will say that a second chance bail bonds, to me, that I've helped a lot of different companies over the years and seen a lot of different bonding companies, to me, they are the cream of the crop because they actually care. All right. They're prepared. It makes a difference. They're well dressed. They're not wearing jeans and ripped T-shirts to court when they have issues. I mean, they're professionals. and they want to help any way they can, and they're out in the community doing good stuff. And you don't see that from a lot of bonding companies. And listen, there's always a bad apple in every bunch. There's bad lawyers, right? So bonding companies get bad names, but it's not necessarily they don't provide the service because the state of Georgia sets bonds for people who are accused of crimes, and they're the insurance.
Yeah, that's now I would pose the same thing to you. So flip it around. How does everybody working together make it smooth for you?
Well, for me, it's about relationships, right? So, especially with the defense lawyers and stuff like that, it's having that trust in them, and we're all about being seamless with the process, as seamless as we can be. So having those relationships and knowing each other kind of helps. Like, look, we always try to stay in our lane. We're not lawyers. We don't try to be lawyers. That's not what we're here to do. But we can help bridge the gap for the client because sometimes they may have forgotten something or whatever the case is. We're just a good middle ground for these people, and we stick with them for the duration of the case because the money when you post bail, it's for the duration of the case until there's a final disposition, and whatever that disposition is.
Yeah. What about the community? How does the community benefit overall with just a smooth process from defense to bail bonding, law enforcement officers, the whole process? How does that help just everybody in the community?
Well, because we have a financial obligation in the case, as far as the community goes, we're guaranteeing people's appearance in court, right? That's our role here, right? Is to guarantee their appearance in court. And allowing that process to continue, if you had people that all had cases and never showed up or didn't know what to do or didn't know where to go, obviously then the system doesn't continue going, right? So it just log jams basically. So I think that's probably our biggest help, and it is maintaining the relationship with the client and making sure that these people are aware of court dates or anything that's changed or whatever the case is. We're open 24/7, so we literally encourage people to call us. Even if it's a question that you think is a stupid question, there's no stupid question, right? It's a crazy thing. Some people have never been through it. Some people have been through it 100 times. You don't ever know.
Do you ever get used to it? The guys that have been through it 100 times, you ever see them just like, oh, I got this.
Oh,
they're
answering
questions for you.
I've had clients that know the paperwork better than I do. So,
What about in your business, Lauren? Just guys they come in, they're like, all right, here's the deal. Here's what happened. They can walk you through the whole process.
Most of my clients, I would say, are typically people who've never really been in trouble.
Okay.
So they don't know. Someone called me yesterday freaking out that there's an arrest warrant from the county. They had no idea how it worked.
I could see where that'd be upsetting.
So, I do remember a story. I interned at the Miami-Dade Public Defender's Office in law school. I'll never forget. This is like the first time I ever saw this. The public defender that I was working under got some deal for some guy. He'd already been in prison a bunch of times, and the deal was like 8 years in prison. And the guy was like, 8 years in prison? I did it standing on my head. I was like, wow.
That's not probably something you should say.
I remember going.
Can we strike that from the record?
I remember thinking, like, 8 years in prison, do that standing on my head. I just remember that will always stand out to me.
Yeah, I'm guessing so.
It just depends. Listen, nobody wants to go to jail, but yeah, some people have gone to jail a lot, or obviously they know how it works, and they know they'll get in and they'll deal with it and get out and go on.
Yeah. Right now, especially with crime being a huge issue throughout the country, it seems like every city has it. Big city, small city, they're really struggling. Do you think that is something that is going to change anytime soon? How do you see this all playing out? Because I think a lot of people are hoping that's the case. That here, down the road, things get a little better.
Well, just because I'm a criminal defense lawyer doesn't mean I want crime, right?
Well, of course not. But
I'd be happy if there's no crime at all, and I guess I'd go do wills, and they could do a Netflix series about wills.
It would be very interesting, I'm sure.
But listen, I think in the last year, according to Mayor Dickens, the crime rate in Atlanta has gone down actually. So they're doing what they can. So, I can't speak for other cities. Certainly it spiked right after COVID, but I think we've seen somewhat of a decrease in the homicide rate in Atlanta for sure.
Yeah, man. I know I try not to get down there as much as I can. I try to stay away. It's just not something that when I get down there, and this is as a kid that grew up loving Atlanta, loving it. And now I just try to avoid it altogether, man. I stay in Alpharetta or stay in Roswell over where, you were just talking about. Because it feels safer there, and it just unfortunately doesn't feel that way down in Atlanta. And what about you? What about Second Chance? What What's your take on? Do you expect anything to get better anytime soon? Because
our business and numbers have pretty much maintained the same. I do agree with what Lawrence was saying about the murder rate. I think that he's definitely right on that. It's come down, but look, I mean, things are happening. Summertime's always crazy. It's warm. I don't know what it is about warm weather, but when it gets hot outside, all hell breaks loose.
People outside drinking.
Yeah, well, that's
and you get a lot of
absolutely.
domestic violence and things like and then the holidays come and you have everybody at the Thanksgiving table and everybody's having drinks and then the Royal Rumble happens at the Thanksgiving table.
By the way, the holiday times are the worst for a lawyer because they want to spend all their money on Christmas gifts and not to pay a lawyer.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Right.
I don't get much calls during Christmas.
Payment plans.
Right. That's funny. Yeah. So we'll get to colorful stories in a little bit because I bet you both have some pretty incredible stories of people that you've worked with, whether bonding or in defense of. But before we do that, monitoring. You guys have a monitoring system too. Second chance monitoring.
A second chance monitoring, and yes, that is the ankle bracelet, as well as other alternatives to incarceration, which was something that we diversified into several years back after, at the request of different commissioners, county commissioners in the metro that were kind of challenging us. It was an industry that was smaller, and there was kind of a lack of high-level service that they were accustomed to getting with us at a second chance bail bond. So they were, so I spent quite a bit of time putting the business plan together and kind of figuring out really if it's something that I really wanted to do, that I could be helpful in that industry. And that's taken off, and we're doing a lot of great work. And it's like, well, why would you're a bail bondsman, why would you want alternatives to incarceration? Like, that doesn't make sense. You would want everybody to be, and that's what makes us different. Like, I do agree there could be some reform in all this stuff, right? And everything should be tweaked every so often, that it's not just a one size fits all. And so I think that's what's made us different in this conversation. And we've been trying to, change that narrative and be as helpful as we can in the community. So,
I mean, it's my understanding you guys even bail people out for free that don't have money.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the indigent defense, and indigent defendants that have had needs, we've stepped up anytime the call's made to us, just because I believe in that. I think that it's important to for everybody to have an equal opportunity. So we when we can help and it makes sense, we absolutely step up.
Lawrence, have any of your clients been able to benefit from stuff like that? I mean, is that something that you see as a good thing?
Well, I mean, listen, anytime I have a client that needs a bond, obviously I send it to a second chance. I trust them more than anybody. In fact, someone called me yesterday and said they had a different bondsman. I said, well, I would recommend a second chance. But I haven't ever asked them to bond somebody out for free.
Well, no, I didn't mean that. I was talking about the monitoring part.
Oh, yeah, monitoring? Unfortunately, yes. Yeah, yeah.
Why unfortunately?
Well, because, listen, ankle monitoring, you're putting a monitor on. Because some judges that are reluctant to set bond for somebody, and they may feel better if there's a GPS monitor on them. And it's intrusive.
Yeah, definitely.
You got it on your leg. I think now they have wrist monitors, which are a little bit better. It looks like an Apple Watch. And just they got to charge their leg for 2 hours, or it goes off here and there and just creates problems. I will say, 4 years ago, I had a client that was accused of stalking the victim in a case. And so he was on an ankle monitor. This is up in the Georgia mountains. So I had my investigator pull the GPS records from the monitoring company. Well, guess where the client was the exact time she said that he was following her? My office in Marietta.
Oh, wow. So
it worked. It worked in that
your
case.
favor.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. So occasionally
it works.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what was it that you had to invest? Like, did you come up with technology, or did you just invest in the actual technology that already exists?
Right. Yeah. No. The technology's existed, right? So an actual one-piece GPS ankle bracelet has been around, I don't know, since the early '90s, maybe even probably before that. Well, actually, it used to be like a bag, like the old cell phone bags.
Wow. And I did not know that.
Back in the early '90s, that's what it was, which is
okay.
Now, yeah, and so that's how that started, I guess, and now it's evolved, and there's a lot of other things. There's educational content that's also that we're doing. There's alcohol monitors, which test the levels of alcohol and things like that. So there's, it's an array, and we're more of like a small boutique, which we have a lot of options and alternatives. which is what I think is necessary, especially in these different courts throughout Metro Atlanta. Some counties prefer one thing, and then another county prefers another thing. Even judges within the same county like different things, and that's just the reality of it. And if it's their courtroom and it's they're making the decisions on how they want this defendant to be monitored, we want to have as many solutions as possible to provide them.
Right. I had a judge, and I'm not going to name, but in a different, because I like the judge, but in a different county, and it was a serious case, and she didn't really want to grant bail, but she said she would if we agree to do an ankle monitor. So, I mean, I got no choice. So I'm glad it's there as an option. As instead of my client sitting in jail. But she said, I'll be right back when we go to my office. She came out with a piece of paper and said, call this guy. And I was like, okay. He's the one who'll do the ankle monitor.
Okay.
So, all right. It was kind of a weird thing. But what was I going to say? She granted bond.
Absolutely.
And,
No, he's exactly where you want it to be, man. Everything's going the way it's supposed to. It's super encouraging for sure. All right, get your best stories together. We'll go back in this last segment, just some of the most colorful people that you've encountered in bonding and in defense, because I can only imagine that list is pretty impressive. You're listening to Back Your Blue. And Daniel Medellin from A Second Chance Bail Bonds and defense attorney Lawrence Zimmerman here with us on Extra 106.3.
This morning in North Carolina, wheels are spinning. Determination is winning. A passion is now a thriving business, and it shows no signs of slowing down. How? The power of a conversation, like the one Clint Spiegel had with First Horizon Bank about starting a bike wheel manufacturing facility in Asheville. Now it's not just talk, it's rubber meets road. First Horizon Bank. Let's find a way. Go to firsthorizon.com/Clint. First Horizon Bank, member FDIC.
Job seekers, stop the endless job hunt. The Blue Collar Recruiter is your key to the career you deserve. Are you a skilled worker seeking the right opportunity? Look no further. We connect you with employers who appreciate your dedication and expertise. Technicians, electricians, plumbers, welders, and more. We've got it all, and opportunities are just waiting for you. So skip the frustration and let us guide you to your next job. Call the Blue Collar Recruiter, 678-916-6145, or visit thebluecollarrecruiter.com.
Extra 106.3 and A Second Chance Bail Bonds are here to back your blue. Now back to the show on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Extra 106.3.
Welcome back to Back Your Blue with the folks at A Second Chance Bail Bonds. My name is Tug Cowarts, and we've got defense attorney with us, Lawrence Zimmerman. I can only imagine, as colorful as your jacket is, being a Florida fan, that the people that you've worked with over the years have been increasingly colorful and getting more that way as the world gets crazier. Are those the stories that stand out to you of people that you've defended over the years? Who are like, oh my gosh, this is maybe the coolest, the craziest, the most eccentric person I've ever met?
It's a pretty long list. I really have to think in the recesses of my mind. But actually, one comes up years ago as a young lawyer. You familiar with sovereign citizens?
Yes, a little bit where you can't be arrested because you're your own country or something
yeah,
like
basically.
that.
You're a corporation.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So, one of my first federal cases with another great lawyer is a mentor of mine, and it was a Medicare fraud money laundering case. And we show up to court, and judge says, your client this morning filed a bunch of motions saying he's a sovereign citizen, and the U.S. Attorney's Office can't prosecute him. So the other lawyer just basically got in his face, and he's a big guy, just telling him, what are you doing? It's crazy. Anyway, we try the case, gets acquitted. Afterwards, Michael, the older lawyer, walks up and goes, so you wish you represented yourself now? So, it's,
just a mess. I'm sure that the people that on your side, Daniel, are pretty extraordinary too.
Yeah, there's people from career criminals who have go round and round and round and round and know the paperwork better than we do. And then sometimes people that isolated incidents. Probably the most recent stuff we've been dealing with, which is with all the cases with the Trump indictments in Fulton County.
Yeah, because you guys handled that.
Right, we did a lot of those bonds, or 6 of the cases. Mayor Giuliani being one of the biggest ones as well. So that's been a handful.
Do they still call him mayor?
They say he's America's mayor. I don't know.
That's what I was told. Yeah, I've heard him called that a few times myself. But so, what was that process like? I mean, where does that phone call come from? Do you interact with Rudy Giuliani at all, or do you interact with, or is it always the actual attorneys?
In this specific case, we were contacted, and we collaborated in the efforts to facilitate the process for them. So it was something that took time. We knew it was coming, and then over several days, communication. This is where the communicating with the sheriff's department and actually the logistics, which Fulton County Sheriff's Office was great in the process. Sheriff Labatt, handled everything as perfect as we could have asked for. But they, we have to navigate all that stuff, and then you have the press that's involved and the media. They have their own media. Then there's the other side of the media. So it's just it's a little chaotic, but it's stuff that we deal with all the time. So it was business as usual, just with a little bit of extra.
Well, yeah, there's a little more attention, a little more spotlight.
Right.
Yeah, I can see that. That's something though that I'm sure you've had to deal with. Probably some relatively well-known people in your 25 years of doing this.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what is it that you do, or is it anything that you do differently when it's somebody so high profile? Are there things that you have to do differently?
We don't want anybody getting special treatment, obviously.
Well, no, but I just mean as a lawyer.
No, I know.
You have to, I mean more like maybe even in preparation, but just because of the circus, like Daniel was talking about.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, people getting special treatment, but if it's a high-level case, there's a lot of media involved. You just figure out you have to have an entry and exit strategy into a courthouse or a building to try to avoid, media or, go out the back door, so nobody's there. I mean, I've done that before, certainly.
Yeah.
It just all depends. I mean, fortunately, a lot of people I've represented that may be well-known, nobody knows about.
Yeah, well, that's a good thing, right?
Right.
That means you've done your job.
Right.
You've done your job well.
Didn't get anywhere.
Yeah, that's good news. What's kind of the craziest thing that somebody's that you've defended been accused of? So some things you probably can't even talk about.
Well, I don't know if you want. I don't know if I'm really gonna
talk
about it on air, but I do all kinds of cases. From murder, rape to I do it all.
Yeah.
So wire fraud.
Yeah. Which is fascinating. It really is, because I have a hard time wrapping. I don't think I have a criminal mind. Either I'm oblivious or don't have a criminal mind, or like none of this stuff even hits my radar screen. I was like, maybe I should do this today. But it seems like more and more people are like, yeah, maybe I should do this today.
Well, listen, I'll tell you, today's day and age with all the dating apps, that has been crazy for my business, because I can't tell you how many young men I've represented have been falsely accused of raping somebody after they went out on a date. I've had plenty of cases where I have text messages from the accuser saying, I had a great time, let's do it again, and then all of a sudden the police are knocking on their door. So stuff like that's crazy.
It is.
It's that's. You're talking about like a funny story. I do remember one time I was in court in Gwinnett County at a bond hearing, and my client came out in chains and ankle chains, and I'm sitting there making my argument to the judge. I see sparks flying up, hitting the ceiling. I'm looking, what's going on? Well, his ankle chains were hitting the outlet below the table where he was sitting.
Oh no!
So I was like, Judge, I'm like,
can we not electrocute my?
That's what I said. I said I'm asking for bond. They're already trying to execute him.
Yeah. Did the judge take that as joyfully as we did?
She granted bond, absolutely, and
good.
They moved him away from the outlet.
Do you run into that, because it seems like a pretty stuffy place? Do you run into that where there is a sense of humor in the courthouse?
Yeah, I was telling this actually to a client the other day, because we were talking about his trial. The judge got mad at him a few months ago because he sort of laughed in court. Yeah, the courtroom's like a very stale, stiff, no humor. So anytime there's even a joke, it sort of breaks the tension, because a lot of people make really dumb jokes you wouldn't laugh at here.
Outside, why would
right,
you
but
laugh
in court, everyone's like laughing like it was Richard Pryor. My day, maybe Bill Burr. That's a little closer in time.
Richard Pryor, one of the greatest of all time.
Right,
though.
But certainly, and the judges, when a verdict is read, don't want any emotion. In fact, I was telling a story. I won a trial a few years ago, and the judge had no emotion when the verdict's read and all that, and the verdict came, and I hear crying. It was me crying, hugging my client, because my client was old, his wife was dying. So, it's just, Yeah, it's a lot of tension.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, what about with you guys? I mean, is there ever is it always stuffy? Is it always, Daniel, when you're bonding people out, it seems so serious, there would be no room for
Well, I think it's
any
the nature of the charges, for sure. The nature of what the case is and kind of what they're facing obviously determines. But then it's, and then we've got the ones that run. I mean, I want to say we probably have north of 400 fugitives. Maybe it's up to 500 active fugitives right now that we're looking for currently. That have gone, and some as serious as murder. We have people on bond for murder charges, and as serious as that, and as little as a DUI or things like that. So it kind of, you go with the flow of the ebb and flow of the client and the nature of the charges.
Years ago, I represented somebody in a DUI case. They got pulled over on 285, and the police officer pulled her out of the car and realized her pants were on backwards.
Uh-oh.
And she says, "Why are your pants on backwards?" She's like, "Oh, because I was just doing cocaine with a guy over at this restaurant, and then we went in this car and had sex." I forgot. So,
Unexpected?
Yeah.
Goodness.
So, that was a tough case to win.
I'm sure. Like, how do you defend that? Like, what do you go into? Like, they were out of their minds when they decided to say this?
Show the client the video and say, "I think we need to resolve."
Yeah. Right. Goodness gracious. Lawrence, in case somebody needs great defense, they've found themselves, in a bad situation, how do they reach out to you?
They call my office, 404-351-3000, and we answer 24/7.
There you go. And on the website, atlantanotguilty.com.
Absolutely.
There you go. Daniel at A Second Chance Bail Bonds, if folks need to get a hold of y'all.
404 bailout.
404 bailout. This is Back Your Blue on Extra 1063. What are your plans for your business this year? Hey, it's Tug. Do you want to expand and grow? Aren't you exhausted by going to lenders, building a relationship, and a week later, you got a new person to deal with? You have to start all over again? You don't have that with First Liberty Building and Loan. The Frost family has been helping businesses grow since the 90s, and they want to know you. Unlike big banks, they want to partner with you. The Frost family knows the patterns. They know the ebbs and flows. They know business. Get to know them at FirstLibertyGA.com. Building a building, buying a franchise, expanding. Reach out to them. Spend 10 minutes with them. See if you're a fit for them and if they're a fit for you. You do that at FirstLibertyGA.com. And by the way, if you're a young banker and want to work with a team that is faith-friendly and has a culture of excellence, First Liberty might be a good match. Reach out to them today. First Liberty Building and Loan. FirstLibertyGA.com. That's FirstLibertyGA.com.
Calling all aspiring tradespeople. Ready to master a new skill to boost your career? Introducing the Blue Collar Virtual Trade School. Learn from industry experts from the comfort of your own home. Whether it's HVAC, plumbing, or electrical work, we've got you covered. Gain hands-on expertise through immersive virtual simulations and connect with instructors who have been in the field. Elevate your career potential. The Blue Collar Virtual Trade School, where future begins with a click. Visit thebluecollarvirtualtradeschool.com or call 678-916-6145.
Finding your direction, a career path, can be difficult. There's so many choices. Check out Life University and explore your options at their Eagle Madness Preview Day on Saturday, March 2nd. It's your opportunity to spend the day learning about their unique undergraduate programs like culinary nutrition, biology, business administration, and more. Come discover exciting majors and talk to current students and faculty at our beautiful Marietta campus. We'd love to see you at our Eagle Madness Preview Day on March 2nd. For more details and to register, visit life.edu/join today.